Hello. Thank you for joining us today on the Profit Scale Thrive podcast, where we guide attorneys to overflowing profits, scaled growth, and thriving lives. I am your host, Kelly Brubaker. We have a secret though. This is a special place because we don't work with every law firm owner. We support the solo attorneys who are also single parents because we know the special challenges you face, and we know the business advice out there is not always practical for you and your firm. Each week, we will talk about things that will give you the insight you need to stop feeling overwhelmed, to gain back your confidence, and to finally enjoy your law firm and your life again.
Welcome back today for episode number 22. So today's topic is something that I'm never asked about, but it's something that I frequently suggest to clients, and it's usually met with a pushback reaction. I'm talking about writing blog posts. Now, I know for many people, writing a blog seems so unbearable. You need to pick a topic, possibly do some research, actually write it, review it and revise it, and then publish it. And for someone who lives by the billable hour, it's really hard to carve out time to write a solid blog post when you could be doing billable work. But please hear me out on this. Let's start by listing reasons why you should write a blog post. And I have 8 of them. So the first is to establish your authority. By regularly publishing informative, well-researched articles, it'll help you position your business as an industry leader or expert. And over time, readers will start to turn to your blog as a trusted resource. Number 2, increase website traffic. Blog posts can help drive organic traffic, meaning free traffic, to a business's website. By optimizing content for search engines, and the buzzword there is SEO, businesses can rank higher on the search engine result pages, leading to increased visibility and more visitors. Number 3, support marketing and sales efforts. Blog content can be used to promote products, services, or events. It can also be repurposed for email marketing campaigns, social media posts, and other marketing channels. 4, improve conversion rates. And by conversion rates, I mean your sales rates, i.e. bringing on new clients. By providing valuable content, businesses can guide potential customers through the sales funnel. A well-crafted call to action in a blog post can lead to higher conversion rates. People buy from those they know, like, and trust. Your blog lets people get to know you, like you, and trust you. And it may take time before someone needs a lawyer, but I guarantee a conversation with a prospect who already knows, likes, and trusts you is different than having a conversation with a cold lead. Number 5, you can showcase company culture. So blogs can give readers a glimpse into a company's value, culture, and behind-the-scenes activities. It helps humanize the brand. Number 6, stay relevant. Regular blogging keeps businesses updated with industry trends, ensuring that they remain competitive and relevant in their field. Number 7, long-term results. So paid advertising will stop generating traffic for you when you stop paying. But a blog post can continue to attract traffic and generate leads for years after they're published. And my last reason is cost-effective marketing. Blogging is relatively inexpensive compared to every other marketing strategy. And over time, it can offer a high return on investment, especially considering the long-term benefits of organic traffic. But here's something even better. One blog post can be repurposed into a variety of content that can be shared for the next year or more, depending on the nature of the topic. So here are 20 ways that you can repurpose one single blog post. So number 1, infographics. Summarize the key points of your blog post into visually appealing infographics. Infographics are easily shareable and can be posted on social media, embedded into another blog post, or used in presentations. Number 2, videos. Turn the content of your blog post into a video script and create a video. You can upload the video to platforms like YouTube, Vimeo, and even use snippets for Instagram or TikTok. Podcasts. Read or discuss your blog post in an episode for a podcast. Invite experts to the podcast to discuss the topic even further. Number 4, slide presentations. Convert the main points of your blog into a slide presentation and share it on platforms like SlideShare. Number 5, social media posts. Break down the post into bite-sized tips or quotes and share them as individual posts on platforms like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Number 6, ebooks. If your blog post is comprehensive, consider turning it into an ebook or combine it with other related posts to create one longer guide. Number 7, email newsletters. Share the blog post in your email newsletter to your subscribers. You can also break it down into a series if it's lengthy. Number 8, guest posts. Repurpose the content and pitch a modified version as a guest post to other blogs or media outlets in your niche. Number 9, webinars. Use the content of the blog post as a foundation for a webinar. Dive deeper into the topic and answer live questions. Number 10, online courses. If the content is instructional, consider turning it into a mini online course or a module in a larger course. Number 11, quizzes. Create a quiz based on the content. For instance, if your blog post is about 10 ways to improve SEO, you can create a quiz titled, "How much do you know about SEO?" Number 12, checklists. If your blog post is a how-to or provides steps, turn it into a downloadable checklist. Number 13, templates. Depending on the topic, you can create a template that your audience can use. For example, if it's about writing a business plan, provide a business plan template. 14, interviews. Interview experts on the topic of your blog post and share their insights as a follow-up post or a podcast episode. 15, roundup posts. If you've written about a popular topic, ask for opinions or tips from other experts in your field and create a roundup post. Number 16, update and republish. As time goes on, update the blog post with new information and then republish it. This keeps the content fresh and relevant. Number 17, translate. If you have a diverse audience, consider translating the blog post into other languages. 18, printed material. Turn the blog post into brochures, pamphlets, or even a mini magazine. 19, interactive tools. Depending on the topic, you can create an interactive tool or a calculator. For instance, if it's about budgeting, create a budget calculator. And number 20, forums and Q&A sites. Share your knowledge on platforms like Quora, Reddit, or niche-specific forums. Use the content from your blog posts to answer the relevant questions. So I know I get pushed back on writing one blog post. Now, converting that into 20 additional pieces of content is, I'm sure, a resounding nope, no way. But writing the blog post is the hardest part, I promise. Delegate the repurposing part to a non-billable staff person if you have one. Or if you don't have one on staff, if you don't have someone on staff can do this, or you do have someone, but they're not quite creative enough to repurpose and work on this, then outsource it. There are so many talented people on Fiverr and Upwork who will do quality work for you at a great rate. So let me share my process with you. Now, I have a VA. Her name is Rochelle. She is amazing. Instead of starting with a blog post, though, I start with my podcast episode. And I have a running list of topics that I generate and revise based on current headlines and questions I'm asked just through the normal course of business. And I add in the quick questions that I get from family and friends every now and then as well on my list. But to get started, I will type up the bullet points of what I want to say so I don't get off track or I forget to mention a key point. And then I use Loom to record my podcast. I break up my one podcast into 4 segments. So I record 4 different videos, one per segment. After the 4 videos are recorded, I save them to a shared network folder that Rochelle has access to. And because I know where this content is going to be shared, we have a Google Doc with a list of questions that I can answer about that one podcast episode. Things like what I want the title to be, the summary of the content, and so on. And I let Rochelle know when I'm done and that it's time for her to work her magic. She then grabs the 4 videos and adds the intro and transition music and then stitches them together into one big video. So the video file gets uploaded to my podcast hosting platform. That's Buzzsprout. Now, Buzzsprout strips off the video part, and then it only hosts the audio file for all of the major podcast apps to grab. The transcript, which is created by Loom when the video is recorded, is used to create a blog post on my website. Then it's time for YouTube. The video is uploaded to YouTube and published under my podcast playlist. An email is generated to let my audience know that there's new content and that it can be found either on their favorite podcast app, it can be watched on YouTube, or they can read the full post on my blog, on my website. Links are included within this email to make it easier for them to find the content. Then back on the podcast hosting website, it has a feature where we can create 60-second clips for promoting a podcast. So a few clips are created. The clips are in a video format because you want to hear the audio, but because Buzzsprout pulled off the video part of it, the file that they create has a fixed image. So it's a fixed image, but it has the audio from the podcast. Now, these clips are shared onto my main social media channels. And then these clips include a link to the YouTube video for the full podcast episode. Lastly, and this is where I get the long-term benefit from this one piece of content, a campaign is created to share the content 9 times over 6 months on all of my social media channels. Now, I could share this more often or over a longer period of time, but right now I'm still in the beginning of my podcast, and I feel like for the topics I'm talking about, 6 months is a good time frame. And after 6 months, I can always create another campaign, or I could renew that campaign for another 6 months and get even more mileage out of it. So let me know, what do you think?
And now it's time for our listener's question of the week. And this question is from Sarah. I discovered your podcast a few weeks ago when you were talking about debt and profit first. It was information that I needed to hear at the time, and I'm slowly working on it. You went into a lot of detail about profit first in your podcast that I can just listen to your podcast and read the book, right? Why would I need to hire you for profit first? So I love this question. I agree completely that for many business owners, the book is enough to get them started with profit first, and their business may be what I call vanilla, to have any questions that they may have answered right there from the book. But then there's the next group of business owners who really dig into the book, and they have lots of questions because their business is a little more complex, and they may find that the answers are in my podcast episodes because I can expand upon the book. And for those who I can help through my podcast, I appreciate you. It's a privilege that I provided the help you needed when you needed it. But then there's this last group of business owners who either don't have the time to reread the book or listen to every one of my podcast episodes, or they want someone to sit with them side by side to make sure that they do it correctly the first time, because they know the value of using profit first. And those are the people who hire me for private coaching. But when I work with someone to implement profit first, we work on so much more than profit first. We work on setting business goals and tracking the progress to reach those goals. We work on mindset around income and spending. And we make sure that the money they allocate to owners' compensation is enough to pay them a reasonable wage, a wage that financially supports them personally at home. It's more than what is in this book or in my podcast. I hope this answers your question, Sarah. And if not, I'm happy to meet with you to answer any follow-up questions you may have. And I promise I don't bite. I'm not a hard salesperson. You can schedule a meeting with me, whatever time works best for you. My calendar is open. It's on my website. You can find it at profitscalethrive.com/contact. If you would like to submit a question for a future episode, please send an email to podcast@profitscalethrive.com. This week's inspirational quote is from Anonymous. An entire field of roses could be given to someone and they'd only see the thorns in it. A single weed could be given to another and they would only see the wildflower in it. The way we choose to perceive things is the foundation of gratitude, and gratitude is a main foundation of joy. Final thoughts for today. I hope I've convinced you to start posting blogs to your website. And please know, I do understand the time involved in drafting one blog post, but you will get so much mileage from each and every blog post. I know it. And if you've listened to my last few podcasts, I am a huge supporter of AI, but your blog posts need to be your own, at least your firm's own blog post. You can and you should delegate blog post creation between different employees of your firm, but keep it within your firm to maintain consistency with your firm's voice and brand image. When I started my first CPA firm in 2005, I really struggled with creating a website. I had a wonderful graphic designer, but she didn't know HTML, and honestly, I didn't know what to say. I quickly grew frustrated and scrapped the whole website for a few months until I discovered a service that specialized in CPA websites. I was all in, sign me up. I didn't appreciate it at the time because I was enamored by how fancy it was with loan calculators and constant updates for changes in the tax code. It even emailed a newsletter every month that I didn't have to write. My first issue was that there was content in the monthly newsletter that was something about services I didn't even offer to clients. Whoops. And then about a year after using the website, I picked up a new client. And curiosity, I did some research on their prior CPA who had an office maybe 5 miles down the road. The other CPA had the literally exact same website, except it was in a different color. Ouch. The convenience of having a website pre-made for me was just not worth the cost, especially in this remote workplace world we now live in. What blows me away is that every now and then, 15 years later, I will still come across a CPA's website that is that same old content. I'm glad that I discovered this early on, though, in my business, and here's why. Google does not uprank sites that have the same content. So if it sees the same content on multiple sites, it pushes them to the bottom of the search results. So no matter what SEO, metadata, keyword strategies that I would have tried, they were all set up to fail because the underlying web pages were identical to hundreds, if not thousands of websites across the US. So lesson learned, and I've had my own created from scratch website ever since. But that means I need to put the work into the website to create the content continually. I choose to create one new piece of content every week that updates my website, my podcast, and my socials. I hope this helps you. Before I sign off today, for listeners of my podcast, you have an opportunity to get a copy of my newly published book for free. It's called Stop Struggling and Start Thriving, a guide to transform your law firm. I'm going to leave in the show notes the link that you can download the full PDF for free for now. And I'm also going to put a link that if you would prefer to purchase it on Kindle or paperback, there's a link to be able to buy that on Amazon as well. If you have any questions about today's episode, feel free to comment if you're watching on YouTube or send me an email to podcast@profitscalethrive.com. If you know someone who might need to hear this information, please share this episode with them. Or if you're on YouTube, tag them below. Be sure to follow and subscribe to get notifications for future episodes. Did you enjoy this episode? Please consider leaving a review. And before I go, remember, profit is something you intentionally plan for in the beginning. It is not a potential bonus at the end of the year. Thanks, and have an amazing day.